In the last video, we spoke about the different types of qualitative and quantitative data. This categorization is specific to the nature of data from a statistical point of view. However, data can also be classified into primary and secondary data based on the source from where such data is collected. In this video, we shall talk about the difference between primary and secondary data and also the different ways to collect such data. Understanding whether the data is primary or secondary helps us assess its reliability and relevance. Let us dive in. First up, primary data. This is information that you or your team create directly from the source. This is first-hand data created specifically for your use. Primary data is unique and original. This is often generated by direct interaction with the participants, although it may not be feasible in terms of time and money to collect primary data. Let us say you are a risk analyst at a bank and have received 100 loan applications. To analyze eligibility of these applicants, you send them a form where the customers enter their demographic and financial details like age, gender, income, occupation, and existing life insurance coverage. New data points like details of property owned, etc., can be added to the form if the bank deems this information is useful for loan evaluation. You may have to make a follow up call each of the 100 applicants to explain them the relevance of each field and supporting documents acceptable for these data points, like government ID proof for age and gender, tax return for income, etc. The customer may take 3 to 5 days to complete this form. This dataset did not exist earlier. You created this new dataset specific for the purpose of evaluating the loan applications. It is flexible, and data points may be added or removed from it based on your requirement. Data is collected by interacting individually with the applicants. However, it may take substantially longer time and resources to collect the required data. Next, we have secondary data. This is information that already exists and was collected by somebody else. It is like borrowing a data that has already been gathered and organized. It is often cheaper and faster to get access to secondary data. However, it may not perfectly align to your specific needs. In our previous example, it may not be possible to get a clear picture of loan eligibility with just the data collected from the applicants. So, we opt to buy a CIBIL report that contains existing loan details, number of credit cards owned by the individual applicants. This data is collected and consolidated by CIBIL. We can get this data at any moment by subscribing to CIBIL. The CIBIL report is not exclusively made for us. Anyone can opt to subscribe and get this data. However, let us say we want to know the details of credit card transactions. If this data is not collected by CIBIL, it cannot be added to the report. Now that we understand primary and secondary data, let us explore how to collect these. Common methods for collecting primary data include surveys. This is asking people questions through online forms, phone calls, or in person. For example, running an online feedback form to understand customer satisfaction. Interviews. Here we engage in one on one conversation to gather detailed insights. For instance, interviewing a potential customers to know his requirement. Focus groups. This involves discussing topics with a small group to get varied perspectives from different applicants. For example, gathering opinions on a new FMCG product from a group of housewives. Experiments. This is conducting tests and observe outcomes from the test. For instance, testing a new drug in a clinical trial to assess its effectiveness. Observations, watching and recording behaviors in real world settings. For example, observing customer behavior in a retail store to improve layout design. Business transactions, data generated and recorded at the source during the actual transaction, such as inventory updates, sales, or customer orders. Secondary data can be collected by different ways. Government reports like census data, economic reports, or health statistics collected and published by the government. Research papers like academic journals and studies published by scientists and academicians. Online databases, websites with datasets and reports that can be accessed for free or with some subscription. Historical records. This includes archival documents, photographs, or past research. Analytics databases. The business data that is cleaned and summarized to be used as part of broader reporting. This is generally stored in OLAP systems. To recap, let us review the difference between primary and secondary data. As primary data is collected at the instance for a specific need, it takes more time as compared to secondary data, which has already been collected and can be accessed anytime. In our example, getting response to forms will take longer than downloading the CIBIL report. As primary data is collected individually for each requirement, it takes more effort to collect as compared to secondary data, which is collected once and can be used several times. We have to follow up with individuals to get the form response, whereas the CIBIL report is available for download at the click of a button. Collecting primary data requires huge amount of resources and is often expensive as compared to secondary data. We have to hire agents to talk to the customers and get the forms filled. This is not only time consuming, but also expensive. Primary data is made to order and can be customized based on your specific requirements. But secondary data is off the shelf and does not allow a lot of changes to the existing data. We can add new fields to the customer form if need be, but cannot get more information from the CIBIL report if CIBIL has not captured this information. As we are involved during the data collection process, we have complete control on the data collection activities. Therefore, we have more trust on the collected data. On the other hand, in secondary data, we do not know how the data is collected and need to be cautious before using it. CIBIL report is trustworthy, but we cannot be sure of many other online datasets available on the web. Now that we have understood the different types of data from statistical and data source point of view, we are better equipped to dive into the world of statistics. Do not forget to put your questions in the comments and subscribe for more such videos on statistical concepts. Let us accelerate to the future.